Welcome to another video lesson from Chapter 8. This is again a hypothesis testing, and we're doing this for the true proportion. Now, with the true proportion, remember the notation was P, the estimate, point estimate, was noted P hat. And just like in the binomial, we had a Q. And we'll actually have what we think it is because we'll think we know what P is, just like with U. So we'll claim something as P, the true proportion, so we'll have the true, not proportion, the Q value. And with the true proportion, remember we always use z-scores. Now, we'll look at a particular example here. It's going to be a critical value approach, just like with the first video we did. So it's going to have the same 6 steps. So we start with the hypothesis statement. So a null hypothesis, an alternative hypothesis. The null being P equals rather than mu. And that's a P in proportion, not a P value. And they're stating that 60.2% or 0.602 are serving time for drug offenses. The alternative hypothesis, the warden feels his is even higher. So P greater than 0.602. And we're wanting to know, is he correct? So we are testing that as our claim. So from this, we've got a one-tailed test. So our normal curve look has got the critical region up there at the top. And our P hat is the 260 out of 400, favorable over possible, which is 0.65 or 65%. Our significance level is alpha equal 0.05. Now our critical value, because it's one-tailed, we only have one, will be a z-score. And since this is one of those special percentages, 5%, we can use the t-table. Remember, that was the one we could do real fast rather than going to the normal table. So going to that particular table, we were doing a 5% one tail. And we want a z-score. So remember, that goes all the way down to the bottom of 1.645. So our z-score, is a 1.645. And it's positive because it's a greater than. So our critical value there, 1.645. Critical region above, non-critical down below that. Our test stat calculated similarly to the way we did with our confidence intervals. It's again a z-score. It's the p hat minus p over the square root of p times q over n. So very similar to that, except we've got p times q, whereas the confidence intervals we had p hat, q hat. For our particular example, that's a 0.65 minus a 0.602 over a square root 0.602 times 0.398. All of that over n, which is 400. And remember from the binomial, q equals 1 minus p. That's where the 0.398 comes from. Calculating that, we will end up with a value of 1.9612. That 1.9 is in the rejection region above the 1.645. So in our step 5, we reject H sub 0, our null hypothesis. Now it's down to the writing the summary. So our summary, remember, if we are rejecting the null hypothesis, think of agreeing with the alternative. So there is enough evidence to indicate the true proportion is greater than 0.602, which is indicating the warden is correct. For his particular prison, that percentage does exceed 60.2% to a significant amount.